Welcome to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. My name is Stephanie Dingbaum. I am a mental health therapist, and I am so passionate about all things health and wellness, personal development, and empowering others to be their most authentic and best versions of themselves. Here at Therapeutic Intentions, we are all about having intentional and authentic conversations on whole body health, healing practices, mindset, and ways to uplevel your life so you can truly be the best version of you. If you are a woman, a mom, hope to someday be a mom, a healer, or just in a place where you want to start prioritizing yourself and your health, then this podcast is for you. I am so glad you're here. If you're ready, let's get to it. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. I am so excited for today's collab. I know I say that every time, but last collab I had Hillary Burton on, and we got into talking all about feminine energy and really tapping into that inner feminine power. And ironically enough, I didn't even plan this, but today's collab, we're touching on a similar topic. So I have Teal Elisabeth on with me today. I am so excited for you guys to hear about her. She has such a powerful story to share. Her coaching business is, in my opinion, so unique, but there's such a need for it. And so, yeah, Teal, we met at Powerhouse Women, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. You were one of the ones. So like I said, in Hillary's collab, when I met someone at Powerhouse, I just literally went on Instagram after meeting them, found their profile, took a screenshot. And then when I got home, I'm like, okay, these are women I want to connect with. They just made an impact on me. And so Teal is one of them. Like I said, she has this phenomenal business, and I'll let her share a little bit more about that. But she is truly a powerhouse, and the whole essence of the word. That's Teal, I feel. And you just go on her profile on Instagram, and she really just embodies that feminine energy in every part of the word. So Teal, can you give an introduction for yourself?
Oh, that's so sweet of you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. I love hearing how other people perceive the work that I do, because I'm just here working in a vacuum, just putting things out there, hoping it resonates.
It does. It definitely does.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. So welcome any new listeners. My name is Teal Elisabeth. I'm the founder of Relax into Love Coaching, and I specifically support ambitious, driven women to learn what it takes to relax into love, both with themselves and with a partner. And really the core pillars of that to me are deepening into that self-love piece and the self-empowerment piece. And also, how do we really embody that feminine energy from a place of strength? And I think there's something really unique going on in this world today of the modern era of women, where it's almost like the feminist movement has kind of swung the pendulum a little too far, in my opinion. We're no longer 1950s housewives, which I'm very happy about, but it's almost like now we've gotten to a point of, we don't need men, we want to be better than men. We want to prove ourselves to men. And it's really causing, I think, a backlash for relationships. And so my whole goal is to help almost swing the pendulum back to the middle ground and find that beautiful, healthy middle space where men still very much value and appreciate the differences in the gender roles that women bring, while not losing all of that strength and power that we've already created from this beautiful women's rights movement. So it's kind of like the next lily pad we get to jump to. And I really want to lead the way in helping women to hold that space.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love everything about that. You literally, if you haven't connected with Hillary Burton, you really should, because you guys have such a similar message, and she tries to preach that same thing. So you guys are just two peas in a pod, I feel
I'll definitely reach out to her.
Fascinating. So what I love about your name, Relax into Love, is when I think back to, I would even say as young as high school years, but post high school, college years, even post college, when you're in that, I'm a young adult dating, and maybe you're in a serious relationship, maybe you're not, but maybe you're just testing the waters, trying to find the one. I feel like back then anyways, I felt like we were so hyper focused as young women. I have to find the one, I have to find him, and everyone else is in a serious relationship and I'm not. And it's such the opposite energy of what you're talking about. We're not truly relaxing into love. We're hyper focused on it's really more, we're fearful that we're not going to find that love. And it's such an opposite energy of what you're preaching, of what your like whole brand is, really. So it's just so interesting to me. We need more young women, I feel, to like lean into your message.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. And there's so much to go into with that. And I used to be that way too. It's like
Yeah.
checking the boxes on all the areas of life. And for a
Mhm.
long time, I mean, this is why I kind of started my business and my company, was because I just felt like it was the one area of my life that I couldn't check the box on. And it's so
Mhm.
frustrating when you're like, got the career, got the cute
Yep.
condo, got the house, got the, got the car, but I cannot check the box on love and relationships. And for
Mhm.
me, and I find for a lot of women that I speak with, they end up falling into this pattern. And for me, the pattern was what I lovingly call the hook and fizzle, where I would literally hook men in with this allure of being this fun, independent woman. But then a few weeks or a few months into dating me, they would just fizzle away, or they would dump me on the spot. And
Yeah,
it really started to affect my self-esteem and my self-confidence. And I
absolutely.
started questioning, like, what is it about me that a man just doesn't want to stick around and commit to me long term? And it
Mhm.
started to, yeah, like really get me into this place of anxiety. And I know a lot of women struggle with that, where we lose connection to that authentic part of ourselves, and we just spin up into this anxious, I call her the crazy girl.
I love
And
it.
she's just this whole other version of us that we don't even really want to be, but it just
Mhm.
happens.
Yep.
And, whether it's obsessing about when he's calling or obsessing about the timeline of how it's going to all unfold,
Mhm.
we lose connection to that grounded, relaxed, calm, authentic version of us. And
Yeah.
so I think, the two most important parts for anyone that are in this state of either feeling really anxious, feeling connected to the great crazy girl, or in a relationship but just feeling like, ugh, I don't feel like it's really getting where I want it to go, is to really come back down to, am I actually being rooted and grounded in that calm, energetic state? And so much of the work
Mhm.
that I do is all about the underlying energy. I call it relationship energetics, because men are so keen at being able to pick up on our energy. We may be putting out this smiling face of, I'm fine, everything's great, yeah, I love everything. And then deep down, we're feeling very anxious, very insecure, and they
Mhm.
can feel that disconnect. It
Yep.
really is like you are out of alignment with yourself. And
Yep.
that for me was what was happening. I didn't know was going on for 8 years. I was stuck in this
Wow.
pattern. I didn't realize that as much as I came off as being cool, calm, and collected, on the inside, I was an anxious, insecure wreck.
For
And they
sure.
could
For sure.
feel that. And they could feel that something was off with my energy. And I was also very uncomfortable with being vulnerable. And
Mhm.
so as I started to do more of my own loving work on myself and strengthen my inner self, and then learn how to kind of more embody this feminine essence of me, it really allowed men to feel like they could actually relax in my presence, because I
Mhm.
could relax in my own presence around
Yeah.
them.
Well
And that is so
said.
key.
It is key. Yeah, so well said. I agree. I mean, again, like when I think back to those dating years prior to my husband, well, I mean, I'll just be completely transparent. Like before I met Mitch, my now husband, I, like you, was in a very insecure place dating man after man. And some of them were somewhat long term, some weren't. But it was very much focused on like, I wasn't whole unless I found someone. And that resonates like with what you were saying. It's very similar. And I got out of an unhealthy relationship, dove into therapy, and just really focused on building my confidence and feeling whole just as myself, single or not. Like I wanted to be confident and I wanted to feel complete, whether I had somebody in my life or not. And that's when my now husband walked into my life. When I was finally in that headspace of like, I'm happy as I am, loving my time with my friends, pouring into those relationships, not in fear of am I going to meet someone or not, just truly loving life. That's when, and I think you're right. Like they pick up on that energy. And truth be told, like, you know how there's just some relationships that I don't like to use the word work because I just think work has such a negative connotation to it. But there's some relationships, some marriages that just take a little more work than others. I don't feel like that's Mitch and I. Like, I think because I truly did the work prior to meeting him and he came into my life at that time, I just feel like things just flow a little more naturally for us. And they don't, I mean, I'm not saying it's always sunshine and rainbows, but it doesn't take the heavy, heavy work that I feel some take. And again, I really attribute that to, like, I did a lot of my own heavy work prior to him coming into my life.
Yeah.
Similar to what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm
That's
so happy
amazing.
for you. That's beautiful. I'm so happy that you have
Yeah.
gotten
I
to
mean,
relax into love with your husband. It's
yeah,
really important.
I do feel that. Like when I went onto your website and I really dug into everything, your brand and everything, it's like, gosh, I was kind of processing and thinking about my own marriage. Like, yeah, I feel like I really did relax into this relationship. I didn't enter it in fear of like, what if he's not the one? Or, how do you know? And prior to him, like that was me. And with Mitch, I didn't. I showed up authentically. I didn't care if he liked me or not. He did the same. And it was just, it flowed so effortlessly in the
Mm,
beginning. And I think that's so important. But again, like young girls need to hear that. It wasn't until I did the heavy work on building my own self esteem and confidence that I realized, like, wow, so many girls are not just like enjoying the current chapter that they're in. You enter into a relationship and then you're like, oh, I can't wait to make it serious, and then I can't wait to be engaged, and I can't wait to be married, and then a mom. And but when do we just stop and enjoy that chapter that you're in? And
yes.
so then I really shifted over to that side of things. I feel like the pendulum swung, and I was like, really recognizing that girls are not typically doing that. They're not just relaxing and enjoying the current chapter.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's important, I
Yes.
feel.
And one thing I always love to encourage my clients is that, every man that you're meeting and potentially dating doesn't have to be the one. It's really just more of a practice for you to get to know more about yourself in the process. It's like lily pads of just lily padding from one growth moment to the next. And as you look back on it, it's like, okay, one of those men usually end up sticking around and then they become your person. But when we
Yeah.
can take the focus off of trying to make it happen and make it be the one or figure out if it's the one, it does. It takes you out of that headspace and drops you back into the present heart space.
Mm.
And then you get to just show up as a much more authentic version of you. And I could feel the difference so much in just how I was interacting with my friends versus how I was interacting with men. And this is a great test for anyone listening too. Just notice for yourself when you're hanging out with your girlfriends, how do you feel? And how does your body feel? Right? Our bodies are a really big indicator of whether we are in alignment or out of alignment with our truest, highest self. So if we are feeling tight or anxious or constricted or just kind of jittery or restless, these are signs that something is off. And I think a lot of times we don't really recognize that, or we don't realize that that's a negative thing or an indicator that we need to look at something. We just think, oh, I've got anxiety, I take pills for it. Or, oh,
Right.
this is how I operate. I'm always in kind of this
Mm-hmm.
state. And when we can recognize, wait a second, no, that's actually not how I'm supposed to be feeling all the time. How I want to feel, and maybe how I do feel around people that I feel really comfortable around, is really relaxed and at peace and centered and safe and calm. And I think a lot of times the reason why it doesn't translate the same way between friends and men is that we don't necessarily feel as comfortable and safe around men as we do with our girlfriends. So then that begs the question for each of you listening, why don't you feel as safe around men? Are you afraid they're going to abandon you? Are you afraid they're going to reject you? Are you afraid that you're not good enough compared to maybe other women? Really letting that be an opportunity to explore yourself instead of making it mean something or be something you're afraid of or hide from. And that to me is the world I love playing with, is that none of us are broken. There's nothing wrong with anyone. And I know you say the same things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really all opportunities for our own beautiful growth.
Yeah.
And when we can look at it as from that perspective and see this whole beautiful journey of relationships as an opportunity for our soul to grow, which is basically what it is. And I have a whole
Yeah.
episode on this called Spiritual and Evolved Partnership,
Oh,
where
okay.
my whole message is like, relationships are just meant to be this container for both people to continue to evolve on their own soul's journey. And we get to kind of do it parallel and tandem side by side with this other person that triggers us and helps us on that journey. But it's not about checking a box. For me, at least, it's not about checking a box, because if it is just about checking a box, that's when relationships start to get stagnant and stale. It's like, okay, I checked the box. Now what?
Exactly. And
No,
then
it's
that's when you
always,
find people fall into those like slumps, so to speak, because they're probably
mm-hmm,
checking a box,
mm-hmm,
unfortunately.
mm-hmm. And instead, it gets to be a total mental reframe of, I'm so excited to meet this new person, to see what I get to learn about myself in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there's awkwardness or tension or any of that, it still gets to be an opportunity for me to grow my communication skills and my loving energy and my tolerance and my judgment and all of these things to help me on my path. And again, if you have these beautiful skills and you're able to practice healthy, beautiful communication and conflict resolution, a lot of times this is what opens up the doors for men to go, wow, like this woman is unlike anything I've ever met. I want to stick around. She
Yeah.
makes me feel safe. She makes me
Yeah.
feel good. This is something that I need in my life, and I am not going to lose her. And
Yeah.
that is when you really know that you've crossed the edge into a new realm of being a woman. And that's the most beautiful part, I think, of all of this. Like, I remember the point when I really just decided, like, I'm ready to go all in and learn about how to become more feminine, because I didn't even know that feminine energy was a thing. I just
I
was
know.
so in my masculine all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, why is this not working? And then I started to learn about feminine energy, and I started to practice it on my now husband. And it was just so interesting. It was like a big social experiment of what happens if I just shift my energy this way, or speak this way, or don't say anything at all and just let there be silence and see what happens. And next thing I know, everything just started to kind of open up in a brand new way. And it was so fun and curious. Have you experienced that for yourself too?
I feel like learning more about my feminine energy happened within the last year. Like being open to receiving, and now I'm way more aware of, like, you recognize women that aren't. Like I was telling Hillary in that collab, like, my mom struggles with receiving because there's very much this energy of, like, if I accept, then I have to reciprocate type of thing, which is just no. But that's just one example. But I feel like I still have some ways to go in understanding this, and I guess this is the perfect opportunity. So when you say, like, embodying or just really honing in on that feminine essence, so to speak, what does that look like? Like, tell listeners what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd say, again, so much of being in your feminine is about the energy underneath whatever it is that you're doing. To break it down, feminine energy is more about the present being of every being moment, whereas the masculine is much more about the headspace and the doing and the planning and living in the future and executing. So as women, we need to be able to balance both. We need to be our badass powerhouse women self and go and crush it at life. But we also need to learn how to balance just dropping back into that present moment and being. And I think the best way to really relate this as an analogy is, like, when I was first practicing this with dating, I was working at Uber in San Francisco, and I was this project manager, and I had very much had to be in my masculine planning, doing, executing energy. And then I would go out on a date, and it's so easy to just take that energy into the date and have the man go, hey, how are you? How was your day? And have you just start going into reporting all the facts about the day, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. I did this, and then I did this, and then this happened, and this happened. But when we do that, we're not dropping into the heart space, and we're not actually being present in our body and in our energy of our feelings. When we drop into the feminine, I would literally take a moment before I walked into the restaurant or before I went and saw him, and I would just take a second to pause and to breathe and to just get into my body and just relax and literally, like, quiet my brain and just check in with, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling relaxed? Am I feeling anxious? And just taking moments to breathe through that so that I could really ground into the moment right in this moment.
Yeah.
And then from that place, I really did my best to be intentional about not jumping back up into my head, not jumping into the reporting and the fact figures and all that stuff. And when he asks me, how was your day? I would ask myself, how do I feel right now? How has this day felt to me right now? And when we speak from a place of feelings versus from a place from the mind, it comes through very different in our energy. Right? How was your day? My day has felt amazing. I had some really great meetings that allowed me to feel so powerful and confident. And I just loved how people looked at me when I was speaking. I just felt like they really respected me. And it really gives me so much joy for what I do in my life, in my day, in my career. And then I came to meet you, and it's just been the highlight of my day. And I've been so excited to meet you and connect with you today. And now here I am, and I'm just so grateful for this moment, right? That is a very different energy on the receiving end than, oh, it's been a great day. Yeah, I had some good meetings, and then I got to meet up with you, and it's been this and that. Life's so busy, and it just takes it out of the mind space and takes it into the heart space. And it is really such a simple practice. And actually, I had to practice this even before coming on this podcast because I'm pregnant at the moment, and I have a little toddler, and I'm balancing and juggling a lot at this current moment. And I woke up this morning at 6:30 a.m., was snuggling with my toddler, and then he throws up all over me in bed.
Oh, no.
He's battling a little sickness. And then I get out, I clean all that up, and then I get into the kitchen, and there's mice poop all over the kitchen. And I'm just like, oh my God, we have mice in our kitchen. So it started off the day very frantic, very frazzled. And I'm thinking, this is not the energy that I want to come into this podcast with. I know that I want to be able, and part of me is like, oh, maybe I should just reschedule. I want to be present. But what I did instead was I said, no, okay, I need 30 minutes to just ground my energy, just pause, slow down from the reactivity of the day, and come back to my center and really root back down into, who am I? Why am I here? What is the importance of this? What is it that I know I need to do and why I want to do this? And from that place, I was able to really relax back into love with myself and with all the beautiful messages that I love to teach, and be so grateful for this opportunity to get to connect and share my message with more women.
Absolutely.
And now I'm able to be present and here, fully embodied, even though my brain is like,
yeah. You don't like show that at all. Like, you seem so calm and grounded. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So hearing all of that.
Does that make sense? Does that help answer the question?
Yes. And that's so going from working in the school, which was a very masculine energy for me, to starting my own business, there was that shift into the feminine. That was actually a big part of the why. I guess I didn't know that then, but like that was a big part of my why. Like, I wanted that time freedom. I didn't want to be bound by this like heavy schedule every day where I'm just hustling from one thing to the next. I wanted the money freedom. I wanted just the freedom to take a day of rest and not feel guilty but again, part of that's myself. But I wanted to just get more of that balance, I guess. And I didn't know that then. I knew I wanted the freedom, but I didn't know that there was that connection to the feminine energy.
Yes.
Because when you're working in a primarily masculine energy, I don't know if, like, so many people aren't even aware of that, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm aware of like what that feminine essence all looks and feels like, and I like what you said about like tuning into your body. I'm always reminding like my therapy clients that our body doesn't talk to us through language. It talks to us through symptoms. Mm-hmm. And so really like grounding yourself, like what you mentioned, tapping into just like going down into your body and just recognizing like what am I carrying? Is it anxiety? Where am I feeling that at? And I'm always telling clients like welcome it in like a friend, like get to know it, like recognize where it's at in your body, do a quick body scan. That is such a powerful practice. And even, similar to what you said, I'm not a mom yet, but like when I'm going from therapy session to therapy session to therapy session in a full day, that is something that I feel is missing from my day. I do great between sessions. Typically I schedule 15 minutes between every session. I do great about like, I cleanse the room. I try to do some sound healing to just like raise the vibes in the room before every session. But what I don't do, what I think I could incorporate more of to tap into that feminine essence, is that like tapping back into like, what do I bring to this practice? Why am I here? Mm-hmm. What am I feeling in my body? To really like release the energy from session to session. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like that just to me sounds like such a powerful thing I could be incorporating.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I don't really think about, because you can so easily get into like what you mentioned, starting your day off just in that like craziness. Like it can be so easy to disengage from your body, to disconnect, which then you're not really connected to that feminine energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
interesting.
I love that you're making that connection. And
Yeah.
especially when, bringing always, because I always bring it back to the context of men and relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
Men really, it creates such a safe feeling of safety for a man, where when a woman can really get out of that frazzled headspace or just that very go-getter mindset. It doesn't even have to be frazzled. It can just be
Yeah.
like, for me, sometimes I'll get into the to-do list and I'll just be like, okay, I got to do this, I got to check off this. And then what I notice is my energy becomes very sharp. It becomes kind of demanding. I just get into a place of critical, just needing to kind of tackle things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't actually make a man feel very relaxed to be around you. And it doesn't make you feel very warm to be around. And even though I feel like, oh, look at me, I'm checking all these things off my to-do list. It's not the kind of energy that a man really loves being around. A man loves being around a woman. Not to say that we have to sacrifice or dismantle any of that. It's just about shifting it, handling those things, but then taking a moment before interacting with your man to go, okay, I'm dropping into my feminine. I almost talk about it as like taking off your masculine hat and putting on your feminine crown, clicking back into your body, coming back into a place of gratitude, and then interacting with your man. Almost like literally imagining your heart as a zipper and unzippering your heart and opening it up and letting that energy of light just radiate out and giving that energy out to this person in front of you. It doesn't have to be your man. It could be your mother. It could be your child. It could be your dog, anyone. And just giving that the new energy. Because to me, I think that just gives so much more openness and spaciousness for a man to go, yes, there she is. Yeah. That's the woman I love. And when we're dating, if we're up in that headspace and we're continuously just kind of looking for the next thing, or even just critically evaluating, is he the right one for me? Oh, he has this, but he doesn't have this, and he makes me laugh, but he's not a little bit of that. It's just, it's like a big wall around our heart, and they can feel that. And it doesn't make them feel very safe to just be able to drop in and be authentic. Right. And so again, when we can show up from that warm place of being present, and we also take off the critical mindset of, is he the one and how do I make this work, and put it back on, what do I get to learn from this person? What do they get to teach me? How do I get to learn from this experience? It just changes the whole dynamic of how that interaction unfolds and how future dynamics unfold.
Absolutely. I even think, I love that you relate it back to like relationships, because it even makes me think like you're a mom now. I mean, not, your son is how old?
He's almost 2.
Almost 2. Yeah. And you're going to be a mom of 2 soon. But even like in terms of like how you show up for your kids, that makes me think like modeling that same kind of mindset about like how you interact with your kids and bringing that feminine essence into that relationship. One, like, it's beautiful that you can model that for them, but 2, like, I just think it's so important for them to see you in more of that, like, authentic, relaxed, kind of like how you show up in the relationship. Like, what can I learn from you? It's the same with your kids. Like, when you sit down to play with them, like, what can I learn from them? Yeah. Which I think that's such a beautiful concept too, for whether you're a new mom or not. Like, one, you're going to be more like in the present moment, but just think of, like, how often do we really, like, when we sit down and play with our kids, like, how often do you really think, like, what can I learn from them? What can I gain from this exchange versus, like, I'm here, I'm trying to entertain them to keep them occupied. Like, it's just such a different energy that you're showing up with.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
And they can feel it too. Kids are so keen on picking that up. If you're authentically clear and present with them versus just trying to bide time. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's such an important thing to model for them, of how do you manage when you get overwhelmed? How do you manage different feelings and lots of different things going on? And also for me, just setting priorities too. What are the most important things that I need to handle, and the rest can be dropped. Yeah, all of this, the relaxing into love whole essence, it's just, it bleeds into all aspects of life. And it's such an important concept.
Clearly, yeah.
If you are short or petite in any way, then listen up. This ad is for you. Did you know that nearly half of all women in the US are 5'4" or under, therefore considered petite? Being petite should not mean compromising on your style. For years, I shopped in the children's section at certain stores just to be able to find clothes that fit me somewhat decently without needing to be hemmed or altered. Even when I did shop in the adult section, it was always difficult to find clothes that came in extra small, or even worse, extra, extra small. The only way to find petite clothes was for me to order online. But that meant not being able to try them on or know if they fit correctly or not. When I finally did find some loyal companies that actually sold my sizes, I still almost always needed alterations to be done. Either the arms were too long, the pants were too long, or the waist was still wider than I'd like. I felt like I was not asking for too much to be able to have clothes that fit me to a T without needing to spend extra money getting clothes altered. Due to the poor fit in clothes, I had grown to hate shopping. Seriously, you guys, I never looked forward to it, especially knowing I wasn't going to find something that fit me just right. This frustration led me to researching style boxes in hopes that maybe, just maybe, I could find a style box to accommodate my petite size. Initially, I hit dead end after dead end. Either they didn't offer petite options or they didn't go down to extra, extra small in sizes, which is what I needed. All my prayers were answered one day when I stumbled upon a clothes subscription box called Short Story. Short Story's mission is to help petite women dress with total confidence. They acknowledge that fashion has never been petite friendly, and they are completely rewriting the rules. Amazing, right? They have clothes for petites of all sizes, all heights, and all shapes. Even better, they get their inspiration directly from their buyers, people like you and me who subscribe to them. They literally create and design their clothing lines using our specific feedback. How freaking amazing is that, you guys? There's so much I love about Short Story, but I'll keep it short and sweet so you can get back to the show. First things first, you can order boxes monthly, bi-monthly, every 3 months. You can personalize it to your own specific shopping needs, which is awesome. No more ordering online, going into stores. I get my box monthly and it always comes with 7 items. I would say on average, I keep anywhere from 4 to 6 of the items depending on the month. And another added benefit, when I started, I took their styling quiz and gave them my specific measurements for my entire body. We're talking bust, waist, height, arm length, etc., which means no more alterations. Everything fits my arms, my legs, all of it. It's like, I don't know, I feel like I have my own personal stylist. It makes me feel like a freaking rock star. And after each box, I'm able to give my stylist feedback on the item she sent and requests that I have for future boxes. So I'm always getting my fashion needs met depending on what time of year we're in and what I'm looking for and what events I might have coming up. I am always satisfied too, because it's pretty rare for my request to not be granted, not gonna lie. Finally, when you fill out your styling quiz in the beginning, you get to tell them your price point, what you can and can't afford, what style you prefer, what you like, what you don't like when it comes to clothing, and you can give them access to your Pinterest style board, which, truth be told, best thing I ever did for myself. I literally have manifested my Pinterest style board in real life, you guys, because they look at it each month, and if I pin new items to it, they'll try and send me items that I've pinned or close to it. Talk about an added bonus. It's just amazing. So seriously, I feel like I've bragged enough. I'm sure you get the point by now. Short Story is for petites of all ages, all sizes. If you are 5'4" and under, this is the subscription box for you. No more shopping in stores. Let your clothes come directly to you. Hopefully, this will then save you time. I know we all need more of that, and money in the long run. I wouldn't be recommending a company that I myself don't strongly support and believe in personally. I have been a loyal subscriber of Short Story for over 6 years now, and I am so proud of it. Be honest. If you are short or petite like me, wouldn't you love to show up at professional events or family gatherings feeling confident in what you're wearing, knowing that it came tailored to your specific fashion needs? If you're intrigued at all, go into my show notes for today's episode and use the referral link that I put in there. This link will waive your $25 styling fee for your first box. If you are anything like me and you're ready to uplevel your style, show up as that next level version of yourself, and feel like $1,000,000, then subscribe to Short Story today. I promise you will not regret it. All links will be in my show notes for today's episode.
So in your coaching business, there's so many things I want to hit on. I don't know where to go, but I guess the one thing that is standing out in my mind right now, like when we're talking about relationships and obviously like being able to tap into your feminine, that's a factor that makes your relationship just more healthy, just more balanced. But if we're talking about healthy relationships, I'm assuming this is something you touch on in your coaching program, but like what other factors would you say incorporate a healthy relationship?
Yeah,
if we're talking about our spouses, I mean.
Yeah, there's a couple big key ones, and I outline all of them on an episode of my podcast, like the 6 key principles you need for a healthy relationship. So you can go listen to it on my podcast, but I'll outline a few of them. And one of the big ones is communication, healthy communication, which I'll dive into. And then the second one trust is a big one, of course, but I'm not going to talk about that one. Respect is another big one. So with communication, this is a breakdown that I see happen a lot. And it's something that I really work with women on, and building this skill set of healthy communication. Because it's not something that we're taught. And a lot of times it's not something that we're modeled in our families and our parents, growing up. And having that ability to not just be able to say what you need to say and stand up for what you need to say, but know how to say it in a way that's not going to push them away or cause you guys to clash, but actually build more intimacy and more connection with that person. And a lot of that goes into, how do I actually manage my own feelings first and be a role model for how to have a healthy connection? Because a lot of times when women are trying to communicate, they're communicating through their feelings, which means that all the energy of that feeling is coming through in the words. So what men are experiencing is not you communicating your needs and your boundaries and what you want. They're just feeling all this intense, fiery energy of the emotion that you're in, and they shut down. And that's why women tend to be, kind of typecasted as, oh, they're so emotional, because if we're not able to ground and manage what those feelings are, we're just letting that kind of be dumped out on men, and they can't actually get down to the words of what you're trying to say. So a lot of this is just helping women to understand, and I have a whole healthy framework around this. How do I be able to manage my emotions in a healthy way first? Get down to what it is that's actually bothering me or triggering me, and then communicate that in a framework that men can actually hear and understand and really value. And from there, then it's not about the conflict. It's actually just about an opportunity for both people to grow together as teammates versus enemies. So I think that's a really big one. And a lot of times, women will say, well, I'm trying to communicate, but my man just won't. He just drops down. He just shuts down. He's cold. He won't be receptive. And again, it's a lot of times of how we're setting up that conversation and what is the energy that's coming through that conversation. So when we can come into it from a place of being that embodied, strong on the inside, warm, soft on the outside, knowing our value, knowing what we need, having processed the feelings first, and then sharing, hey, you know what? I was feeling really triggered when this happened. I don't want to put pressure on you. I'm not blaming you. this is what I'm experiencing. How can we work through this together so that I don't have to feel this way? Then they go, oh, okay. Yeah, I hear that. I understand that. I want to help you with this. I don't want you to feel that way. And then you can actually bond and grow through that experience. So I think communication breakdown is probably a really big one. And a communication skill set can really help the health of a relationship. And especially with every next level of a relationship and more things that we move through in a relationship, we have to have that skill set. And then I think respect is the other really big one that I just want to touch on, because to me, respect is like the silent killer of relationships.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah. I always tell couples when I do couples counseling, I'm always telling them, like, when the respect breaks down, then the communication breaks down. I mean, that's there. And then you're not feeling the love. I mean, it's the catalyst for the other things to just fall out of place. So
yes. And it's such a slippery slope. And it's such a little sneaky devil, because it doesn't necessarily just come on all out of the blue and you're like, oh, I don't respect you. It's usually just these tiny little things like, he never picks up after himself, or gosh, he never helps me out with these things, or he never asks me how I'm doing. And in the beginning, it's not a big deal. It's just a little tiny thing, but then it builds and builds. And if you don't say anything or don't communicate, then it becomes a bigger and bigger thing that's now lodged in your heart that you really are frustrated by. And then if you try to communicate, but it comes through with energy and then it doesn't work, then it just becomes a bigger issue. And the next thing you know, you're really eroding that foundation. Yeah. And I see this happen so often with little tiny things with clients. And I'm saying, you really need to lean into that now. We need to lean into that discomfort and talk through this now so that it doesn't become a big thing. Because once the respect is lost, it's really, really hard to get it back. Okay. And I've seen this even in my own life with people, with old friends. Yep. Where things were great and then they started doing things and maybe I would talk to them about it and they wouldn't change. And next thing I know, I'm just really not valuing and respecting the person that they're stepping into being. And it's really hard at that point because you realize I don't feel like we're at the same level. And if you don't feel like you're at the same level with someone, then it's really hard to want to have them in your life.
Yeah, I would agree. Oh, that's so well said. Yeah, I think those are just some really good reminders. I know early on when I first started counseling, I read a book, I think it was called Love and Respect, but it literally talks about this concept of how like men need respect more than anything and women need love more than anything. But when men are feeling disrespected, they cut off the love. When women are feeling unloved, they cut off the respect. And so it's like we stop showing what the other so badly needs when we're not getting what we need. And that's just like an ongoing cycle. And then, before you know it, you're feeling like we're just two cold roommates living together. And it's like, yeah, because he needed respect and you needed love and neither of you stopped or both of you stopped showing that. And, it's just this crazy cycle that can start if you're not careful. And so getting ahead of that, I think is so important.
Yeah.
Versus like waiting for there to be a problem.
Yeah. And it can be evolved and it can be resolved. Yes. I remember there was a moment we weren't losing respect for each other, but we were just my husband and I were kind of getting into the mode of just going through the motions of life. We'd been together for a long time. And I just started to feel like we were becoming more like roommates. And I had to literally speak up and say something and say, hey, I'm feeling really disconnected. I feel like we're not really seeing each other like we used to. And I remember his response was, well, that's just what happens over time when you've been with someone. And I said, oh, hell no. No.
It's normalized doesn't mean it's okay.
That is not how I'm going to be living my life and not how I want to live my relationship. We get to create what we want for our relationship. And I want the butterflies again. It may not be the honeymoon phase, but I want to feel like you see me and love me and adore me and respect that of me. And ever since then, it's been great. And if there ever is a moment I go, I'm not really feeling it, it's kind of losing it. And we make sure we get back to that point. So for anyone listening, just know that if you're feeling any of these moments, it's not a sign that it's doomed. It's just an opportunity to go, ooh, maybe I need to either speak up. Maybe I need to get some help with this.
Yep, I completely agree. My husband and I had a similar conversation just a few weeks ago. This is like it's fall here in Iowa. And so he's fishing nearly every weekend. And with me building my coaching business, like on my weekends, I'm working. And so we just had a conversation. I mean, I'm working, but I love it. So it doesn't feel like work. But, we just had to have a conversation. And it wasn't anyone's fault. I just pointed out, like, I'm feeling like we're disconnected from each other lately. And it's nobody's fault. Like, I want you to go out and go fishing. That's what fills your cup. And I hope you don't take fault that I am working. And I apologize that that's how I'm spending my weekends. We're both pouring into things that also pour into us, but we need to be pouring into each other. And if you're not intentional about making time for that, that's a slippery slope. And so I agree. Absolutely. I think it just pays to like be honest when you're recognizing like, oh, I'm feeling disconnected. Maybe I should say something, but he's so busy and I love that he's pouring into work and, maybe you feel bad saying something because you don't want to make him feel guilty, but no, say something. Don't put it off. I mean, I get that guilt, but I also think, it takes two to make it work and it's not one person's fault typically, but have those conversations.
And I love that we can both experience that and still say we have wonderful, loving relationships.
Yeah. I mean, it's never like 100% of the time sunshine and rainbows, but if you're not proactively having those conversations, then you're partly to blame when things go south. I mean, Yeah, I think that's so important. So when I was researching your website, or maybe it was your Instagram, but you do also do some like subconscious reprogramming in your coaching
Mm-hmm.
business. Is that correct? So how do
Mm-hmm.
you incorporate that? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I feel like I really play in the world of the spiritual and the practical. I've got a lot of
Girl, I hear you. Preach. Yes. Yep.
I love the specific frameworks and scripts and tools that I can empower women. But I
Oh,
also think a lot of this is such deeper energy and subconscious work that we do. And I have a whole beautiful program for women that are just feeling disconnected from themselves, feeling out of alignment with themselves, feeling like they've lost that touch with their intuition.
wow.
And a lot of it is just understanding on a deeper level, what are all the layers? I call it layers of mud that are blocking that light around our heart,
Mm-hmm.
and starting to help them identify that and uncover those deeper layers. These could be wounds, these could be past traumas, these could be fears or insecurities, but they're all energy blocks that are keeping us from fully feeling connected to our power and to our radiance. And so
Yes.
taking women through guided hypnosis and deep meditation work and subconscious fear clearing work to literally energetically get it out of you on a psychic level. Because I think a lot of times, and correct me if I'm wrong, but therapy is really beautiful. It brings a lot of awareness to things,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it still is lodged in there. And it takes a
Yeah.
lot to be able to kind of pull that out.
Yeah.
And sometimes just having awareness of it isn't enough. And
Right.
so being able to go in on a subconscious level and reset, reprogram that, and then shift the mindset and choose new beliefs and new stories that are going to empower us moving forward. That to me is the most empowering thing we could ever do for ourselves. And I love working with women on that, because within 1 or 2 sessions, I can literally see them have decades of stuff that's just been plaguing them and have them now lifted out of that into this whole nother version of them that is free of it and feel
Yes.
so released and light and carefree and giddy and excited about
Oh
the
my gosh.
possibilities.
You're
And
making
it's
my
just
ears ring. I feel like somebody, like spirits, like, preach, sister. You're so right.
yeah. And to me, I call it a full soul rebirthing experience.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yeah, so I do a lot of that work in my therapy practice, and it's also going to be incorporated into my coaching business. So I just love asking about that because it's an area I too am so passionate about. But
Amazing.
it's so funny, like you say, like we're not always like you can do the work around like what you're aware of, but the thing about the subconscious is like you're not aware of what's there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I love that work. I
Yeah.
think it's the most powerful thing we can do for ourselves and for our clients. And your dog's like,
Hold on. I'm
I
going to
got something to
check
say.
in with my dog. What do you
You're
need,
good.
Charlie? Charlie, you're fine. Okay. He's fine.
I don't know. I think he's like, I got something to say.
I
I love
agree.
it.
Roof.
Yeah. Yep. No, but I with the subconscious reprogramming, I just feel like I'll just use an example. Like I have had so many clients when we're starting to work on their like limiting beliefs that they don't even know that they have. You know, they'll start a session and they might be like, "Oh, I don't think I have any limiting beliefs around that." But then I typically start with like, "Well, let's just go through like what are the identities that you carry?" Because we know that your subconscious is made up of your beliefs, your identities. And so I just start with the identities. And then we go through and we list out all the identities that we carry. And then we go one by one over each of those identities and we talk about like, okay, as a daughter, as the firstborn, what beliefs do you hold or do you carry? You know, maybe they have a limiting belief that as the firstborn, it's my job to take care of my younger siblings, even though now we're adults, we can care for ourselves. You know, so like we don't always know that we're carrying these limiting beliefs until we really start to do that deep rooted work. And then it's like, holy shit, it's like this box opens up and their eyes are open and it's such powerful work. And
Yeah.
that's where a lot of the work needs to be done because you're not aware of what you're not aware of. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So we got to uncover that garbage and rewrite those beliefs so that you can bring true healing to your body so that you can thrive in this
Yeah.
world, so you can show up as that authentic version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I could talk about that for
Yes.
days because it's just such a powerful topic, I
Yes.
feel.
Yes. And I think for any women that are like, I don't know if I have limiting beliefs, or I don't know if
Right.
I have blocks around this, just do a scan of all the areas of your life. And if there's any areas of your life that are not authentically flowing with ease, that's usually an opportunity for growth to dig in deeper,
Yeah.
right? This could
Good.
be
Yes.
this could be money, this could be relationships, this could be family dynamics, this could be career, this could be
Yeah.
health. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
a really good point. Yeah. Like tap into each of those areas. Just like, think about finances and just sit there and just really like let yourself focus on it and just notice like what immediate thoughts, fears, or negative thoughts are coming to the surface. Write them down. That's probably a subconscious belief that you're carrying. We
Yeah.
can rewrite those. We can change those. We have that power and that ability. People just aren't like on a daily basis recognizing that, and they don't know, like not everybody knows, like you and I know what limiting beliefs are, but it's not like an everyday term that people use. And so
Yeah.
until you bring awareness to it, people are just completely oblivious to the fact that they're carrying these, and that as a result of carrying that, it's dragging me down in life and in relationships.
Yes. Bingo. I love that you just articulated that. And I think
Yeah.
that is the secret, right? Or one of the secrets of
Right.
hacking life and the
Yeah.
universe is
Yeah.
that we don't have to hold on to the beliefs that were placed on us or that we picked up. We have the ability to change those and rewrite those at any time, whether you're 60 or 6. And that to me is just so empowering to see and to know and to actively be doing in my life. And it's how I've been able to have the life that I have now, which is incredible.
Yes, it is incredible. Yeah. So I guess to wrap things up, is there anything business wise? So I didn't even think in the beginning, we didn't even mention your podcast. So I'm going to link a few of the episodes that you mentioned in the show notes. But do you want to share with listeners like how they can get in touch with you? Are you open to new coaching clients? Like I'll put all the links that people need, but yeah, share how people can hear from you or get in touch with you, I guess.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. So yeah, I've got a couple different resources for ladies that are interested. I am opening up my calendar for a few weeks to take enrollment calls for any women that are just interested in diving in deeper with me and going into this journey, whether it's the self-love, soul rebirthing work or the feminine embodiment work. So I'll leave a link there for a free 30-minute love breakthrough call. And on that call, I really just love to hold space for you to just hear more about where you're at, what you're maybe struggling with, and just see how I can best support you. And if you're just wanting to kind of dabble a little bit more in my world, I have some really empowering, beautiful guided meditations. Yeah. One is around building self-love. It's called Love is Who I Am. And the other one is called Calling in the One, really helping you to energetically connect to the frequency of calling in that dream partnership. And, or if you're already in a partnership, but it's not really going the way you want, being able to really connect into how do I call in the dream version of this partnership? Mm-hmm. So those are really, really great ways to just kind of begin to play in my world of relaxing into love. And yes, would love to share my podcast. If anyone women want to just listen into that, I got a ton of gold in there. Yes. So I'll leave all those links with you.
That's awesome. Those meditations, I need to share them with a few clients. Now that you're talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I did see those on your website. Ooh, I know of a few people I should share those with.
Yeah.
So that is so great. What an awesome resource that you can offer to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I like to wrap up every collab with some rapid fire questions. So,
oh boy. Hot seat. Put me on the hot seat. Here we go.
For real. Okay, what is a book that you're currently reading?
Oh, potty training.
Love. Seriously though, that's awesome. Because that's the chapter that you're in, right?
That's the chapter I'm in. I mean, I'm also reading a book about how to tap more into magic and make it work in your life.
Ooh, is that like manifestation magic?
It's just making my life more magic. The theme of this year has been magic, and it has felt like such an incredibly magical year. And I'm just diving into the world of how do I really play in magic even more. So that's been pretty fun.
So it's called How to Tap into Magic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, okay, I'm going to have to look into that. Was that your word of the year? Just curious.
Yeah. It's my word of the year.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love how powerful those words can be.
They're so powerful. And I can't tell you how many times the word magic has come up in conversations this year too. It's weird.
Oh, that's so cool.
And life has truly felt so magical this year in ways I can't even describe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just like finding out you're pregnant and like
Yeah.
getting to experience a second pregnancy and just
Yes.
the
And
magic with
manifesting
that.
a little baby girl, which I was really
Yes.
wanting.
Oh, I
Yes.
love that for you. When you announced that, I was like, this is perfect. Seriously. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
fun. And the potty training, it's like, I'm assuming you're wanting to get him potty trained before baby two comes into the
Yes.
picture.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's completely fair.
And you know what? That's self-growth too. I mean, it's
It
a whole
totally
nother
is.
level of learning right now.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah.
Boys and girls potty training is like a difference, is what I hear anyway.
There's pee everywhere. Let's just say that. There's pee everywhere.
I appreciate the transparency. I love that. What is one thing that you can't live without besides your phone?
Oh my gosh. I know this is rapid fire, but I'm trying to like
You're
really
fine.
think into my soul of
No.
like, what is it that I really can't live without?
I love that.
Okay, first thing that's coming to my mind is my bed. I don't know why I'm saying that. That's
Do you have like a special? This year we got a new bed. It's like the adjustable, like he can adjust his side, I can adjust my side. And I was against it for so many years because I'm like, it's a hospital bed and we're young. But no, it's a game changer. So I get
that is awesome. No, I'm just so grateful to have a comfortable mattress. I mean, I spent 2.5 years backpacking and traveling and sleeping in a lot of uncomfortable places. And I just love every night knowing I can snuggle up in my comfy bed, have it just how I want it. I know it's the little things and get really good sleep to set me up for my whole day, which is, I need to have really good sleep. So
absolutely. Did you and your husband, did you travel for that long together?
Yeah, we traveled for 2.5 years together.
Amazing.
Yeah. And while we're building our businesses online. Yeah. And starting my company. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I have so much of my story I didn't even get to share, but that's okay.
Well, that just means that there could be a part 2 down there. So that's fine. Yeah. That's amazing. I have so many questions about that. Okay. What is your current go-to podcast, if there is one?
Again, a lot of these are going to be like where the phase of my life I'm in right now, which is, it's called Big Fat Positive, and it's a pregnancy podcast, and it's these 2 ladies who are pregnant, and they just talk about their pregnancy journey and kind of the funny, silly things that they're going through and the things they learn along the journey.
That's
but
cool.
It's been really entertaining. And before that, it was the Bridezilla podcast, which I loved for any women that are wedding planning. Yeah. Just making these phases of life fun. Yeah, but before that, it was a lot of spiritual podcasts and a lot of self-development podcasts.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm doing a lot of spiritual podcasts right now because I had a reading not too long ago with Jessica Rachel. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a psychic medium from Canada, and she told me that I have these channeling abilities, and she's like, you need to hone in on these because there's a spirit baby in your aura. But she's not going to come through until you really hone in on this skill because she's such a spiritual being that she just wants to make sure you can connect with her. And I'm like, all right, if that's all I have to do, like, okay, I'm here for it. Let's do this, So I am like diving into spiritual podcasts right now. And
yes.
I get it. Yeah.
Yes. Totally fabulous. It's something I dove into a lot. And every single one of us has this ability.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. You just got to tap into it.
Yes. Totally fabulous. Agree. Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, it's been interesting. What is one song you have to sing along to whenever it comes on?
Oh my gosh. The Dear Meghan Trainor, the Meghan Trainor song, Dear Future Husband. Okay, that one. And that song to me is a great one I actually give to my clients too, because it's almost like in the song, she's literally singing about this vision of the perfect man that she wants. Right. And I remember being brokenhearted and just got dumped and broken up with. And I was singing that song while crying my eyes out because I knew that I wanted all the things that she was singing about in this song. And then a few years later, I now have that. And now I sing that song with the same lyrics and go, oh my God, I just have chills. Like I manifested that. I called that in. Yeah. So songs are so incredibly powerful in the energetic world. Yeah.
Is she married now? Do you know?
She is to the guy that used to play Spy Kids.
Wow. I didn't know that. I'm so out of the loop on things.
That dorky, silly, cute kid from when he was 5 and he was in Spy Kids. Yeah, she's married to him.
Oh my gosh, it just made hearing you say that, it was like, well, she wrote the song, so she probably manifested her dream husband. I mean, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That is such a good song. I mean, it's Meghan Trainor, though. I feel like you can't go wrong with her.
Yeah.
All right, last one. What is your favorite way to relax at the end of a long day?
With either a cup of tea or a glass of wine and talking to my husband on the couch.
I had a feeling you were going to say something like that. Like, I feel like I can envision her relaxing with her husband. Okay.
On the couch. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Him usually his head in my lap and me petting his head. Yeah.
I seriously love that. You seriously need to connect with Hillary Burton because there were so many synchronicities between what you said and what she said. Like, I think you guys are just like this powerful feminine duo in just what you do in your coaching businesses. So just saying, like,
soul sisters.
Nudge,
I will.
nudge.
I will connect to her. Absolutely.
Awesome. Teal, I'm so grateful you came on. I'm grateful that you could share this message with my listeners. And I mean, I'm probably going to bring you on again in the future because I feel like there's so many other things that we could dive into and talk more about. You just have so many lessons that I feel like my listeners need to hear. And so just thank you for being open to sharing your message. Thank you for being vulnerable, and I'll put everything in the show notes, but I'm just so appreciative that you agreed to this and all the value that you brought to the table. I really appreciate it. So
thank you, Stephanie. It's been such a joy.
Yeah. And for all of you listeners, if there's anything that just really deeply resonated with you, you can DM me, you can DM Teal. You know, I love hearing from listeners. So don't ever feel like you're burdening me if you have questions or even just something as powerful as like, this specific part of the podcast resonated with me. I'd love to have more of a conversation about it. Awesome. Let's do it. I'm here for that. And as always, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the podcast. It just helps to get it out to more listeners. I really appreciate that. And if you do leave a review, I'll definitely feature it in a future episode and just give a shout out to you in a future episode. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much for listening to us. It means so much to me. If there were any aha moments or anything that really resonated with you on today's episode, then please take a minute and share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you. Also, if you could, please rate and review the podcast as it is new, and that really helps to get the word out there more and reach even more listeners. I'll catch you on the next episode.